Motorsport Radio.
Hi, I'm Jonathan Ray from the Kawasaki Racing Team.
Hi, this is Nick Hamilton.
Hi, I'm Jamie Chadwick.
Hey everyone, I'm Bradley Smith.
Hi, I'm Joanne Zacco.
Hi, I'm Bradley Wright.
Hi, I'm Seb Morris.
Hi, I'm Dan Lingford from Honda Racing, British Superbike team, and this is Motorsport Radio.
Hi, I'm Ben Curry.
Hello, I'm Josh Elliott.
Hi, I'm Jonathan Ray from the Kawasaki Racing Team.
I'm Keith Farmer, and this is Motorsport Radio.
Hi, I'm Joanne Zacco, Motorsport Radio.
I'm Ryan Vickers, and this is Motorsport Radio.
Hi, I'm Michael Laverty, and this is Motorsport Radio.
Hi, I'm Bradley Wright. This is Motorsport Radio.
The Superbike Show on Motorsport Radio.
Hello and welcome to a new season of the Superbike Show. My name is Lester, and yes, we have a brand new season full of brand new exciting things with a brand new team as well. Kiko Giles, the long-suffering co-host of the Superbike Show, has, if you're not aware, he's gone to Spain. He's coincidentally, unbelievably, gone the same way as the former original host of this show, Tom Brooks, to go and work at Dorna in Spain. So he's gone to do his dream job. So congratulations, Kiko. Thank you. Which means that we do have a brand new team, as I was saying, and on the show this year, helping us out at various points in between their normal day jobs, will be Scottish pundit, panellist, radio show host as well, and a potential future commentator, Liam Hodgins, who's been a guest on the show and joining us tonight on the show. Please welcome from down south, Nat Jarvis, and all the way over from Lincoln, it is Ed Hocknull, the Motorsport Radio website bike editor. Hello, guys. Good evening.
Evening.
So, how are you? How's things? How's life?
Yeah. I think there's a lot to look forward to coming into 2019. So yeah, I'm excited.
And so for those who don't know about Nat, just tell us then what you were doing before and where you were. You were you still are a journalist, I guess, doing some journalist stuff.
Yeah. So I set up a site. Run that for a little while, still loosely involved with that. And yeah, just sort of last year it came about that, the thing I love writing and talking about, and got an opportunity with a small site, and then after a couple of months created my own site, and then, yeah, here I am.
Exactly. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the team. To Nat Jarvis and Ed Hocknull as well. You may have already seen some of his musings and writings online on our website, motorsport.radio, and he is here in a almost permanent fashion as well, providing that he's not getting sick of us by episode number 2 this year. So for those who don't know, Ed, tell us what you were doing before you joined Motorsport Radio.
Well, sadly, I can't claim to have done anything grand like run my own website. I've come across from the Pit Crew Online, having been bike racing editor for them last season, and doing a similar job for you guys this year at Motorsport Radio, although keeping track specifically on World Superbike and road racing tabs this year, as well as occasionally appearing on shows like this.
Fantastic stuff. And we will hear from Liam Hodgins probably on next week's show. I hear he has to work. Whatever that is, I don't know. It's scandalous that people work, have normal jobs. But yeah, for tonight then, on tonight's show, we will be having on as a guest Mr. Brad Ray. Not bad, eh? We had I had a chat with him earlier this afternoon as he was, I believe, heading towards or in the vicinity of Mallory Park for something to do with bikes, I'm guessing. And I caught up with him, and you'll hear exactly what he has to say about his thoughts on being a title challenger in BSB this year. Also, the possibility of him maybe going straight in to MotoGP from BSB. I asked him, and well, he didn't deny it. That is what's called a teaser in the business. So you'll have to watch it and listen and find out a bit later in the show. But first, we will get straight on with some news, because there has been lots of fantastic news. Not just over the winter, we're not going to cover all of it, but just, I suppose, just the pertinent facts. Ed has most of the MotoGP stuff, Ed.
Yes, the long winter is over. MotoGP finally got back to track action over the last couple of weeks with the first pre-season test over in Sepang in Malaysia. From a British perspective, Cal Crutchlow made his return, his first time he's jumped on a Grand Prix bike, or indeed any motorbike, since his enormous crash down at the Australian Grand Prix last year, where at the second practice he was basically carried out of a gravel trap down at Turn 1, having shattered both of his ankles.
Ow.
In the process.
Very shattered.
It was a painful one. There was an image posted by, I think it was Simon Patterson from Motorcycle News, of the x-rays before and after of his injury. And, well, don't look at it while you're having your dinner, put it that way. It is not a pretty sight. Anyway, an intense winter of rehab he has undergone, including a lot of training on the old push bike with Mark Cavendish, has meant he's been fit enough to get back on a motorbike, even if he can't quite walk around normally just yet. However, contrary to some reports that have gone around, he is moving a lot better than it was otherwise believed. He didn't make any attempts at any headline lap times. It was all about dialing in data on the LCR Honda machine. But by all accounts, he managed to do several long runs, which is more than what could be said for a certain other Honda rider, who we will get onto in due course. And he seemed about as upbeat as you can get for a first test, coming back from a long injury. He's still obviously not sure how the ankles are going to hold up come the opening race of the season. But with 2 more pre-season tests, it's certainly looking very positive. We've got a few rookies in MotoGP this year, and Francesco Pecco Bagnaia, who probably the most heralded rookie to come through in a while, signed for Pramac Ducati, and he easily became the top rookie at the test just gone, and indeed set the second fastest overall time that session, setting a blistering lap time of 1:58.3. That was around there. It wasn't actually set completely on light fuel loads. It was set during the morning of the final day on fresh set of tyres, but the team were adamant to say there was a fair amount of fuel going in there in the bike.
More of a glory run, I suppose, just to get that.
No, it was part. It was part of a 12-lap stint, so it wasn't.
Oh, okay.
A qualifying simulation. It was around about half race distance, so it's a fairly solid. We know the Ducati's going to be good, even though he, I believe, is on last year's Ducati. Given he's a rookie year, they figured it would be slightly easier for him to learn the ropes of the Grand Prix Premier Class bike, we should say, on last year's model, which is considerably less advanced than this year's. So Ducati have said. The proof is in the pudding, in that Ducati was one of the 2 teams that looked incredibly strong over long runs. Andrea Dovizioso, as he always does, he does not trouble the top of the timesheets, going for the glory single lap headline time, and just cracked on getting the race setup dialed into the new Desmos Adichie GP19. And he was beaming coming out of that test. He was positive comments how the bike is just a complete evolution on last year, how all the gremlins that plagued the handling of going into the corners from the last however many years, Ducati have always had that problem. The bike wanted to turn through the corners and getting out onto the straight. There wasn't a sudden surge of power under the engine, under acceleration. You could just gradually build through the pace and had a real comfortable, stable bike underneath him, giving him so much confidence to attack lap after lap after lap. So the signs are good for Ducati. The other team which looked good, I thought, was Suzuki out there, particularly Alex Rins, who's now in his 3rd season, or will be going into his 3rd season come the opening race at Qatar with the team. He's coming off a strong finish to last season with, I think he took 5 podiums over the course of the season, 3 of them in the flyaway races right at the end, and very nearly at one point looked like he was going to win the Valencia Grand Prix at the end of the season before Dovizioso, as we've just mentioned, he ultimately took the glory. It's a big year for Suzuki. They've lost their concessions. So the question is, can they keep developing? Can they continue the improvements of the bike that they made last year? And the early signs are the bike at least has come out of the box, as they say, pretty sharp. So good signs for Suzuki. Alex Rins, Guan Mir, the new rookie, who's straight up from Moto2 on there. He looked very solid. Again, not troubling any headline times, but as a rookie, he was consistently in and around the top 10, never more than a second at most off the top pace. So early signs are Suzuki are going to be there or thereabouts come the start of the season, and we've still got 2 more pre-season tests to go. Repsol Honda, things are looking a little bit less rosy in that they were only really down to 1.5 riders, and only one of their full-time riders could take part in the test. Marc Marquez was the man to turn up. He was only limited, though, to short runs as he had to juggle track time juggle his track time with physio and rehab sessions.
Has his shoulder fallen off again?
It hasn't. He's got a lot of glue, a lot of what the medical term is?
String.
The medical term is fibres taken from somewhere else in his body. Basically, the shoulder has been so badly damaged over the years, it wasn't going to grow back naturally or heal naturally. So they had to basically break another part of his body to get the right body parts to fit into his shoulder and hold his arm together.
Should have just gone B&Q, got some, special glue or something. Filler. Shoulder filler from B&Q.
If nothing else, it proves that these top-level riders are just not of this world compared to us. They can just take every kind of pain known to man. As a result, he couldn't really do more than 5 or 6 laps at a time, though he did look very quick on those short runs, it must be said. He's hoping by the time they get to the first of the 2 tests in Qatar at the start of next month, he's going to be able to do at least double that distance in testing. Certainly, if not by the second test, certainly in the final test, which happens the week before the Grand Prix itself. So for Marc Marquez, it's looking like he's firmly on the way back. Jorge Lorenzo had to miss the test completely, so there's still a big question mark over him. He had an injury to, I believe it's the scaphoid bone that sits in between your index finger and your thumb. And although it's a tiny little bone, one major problem is it doesn't get any blood to it, which means healing, when broken or damaged, takes an incredibly long time, and there isn't a lot anyone can do.
I think I broke that once when I was a child.
It's on its right hand, which is, of course, his throttle hand, so he can't fully close his wrist, or his fist, we should say. Which
hope he's not right-handed.
Which obviously affects how hard he can twist the throttle.
Yeah.
So he's, being unable to put any meaningful power out of the bike, he obviously sat this one out. So HRC test rider Stefan Bradl stepped in, and he completed just over 110 laps across the three days. He didn't crash the bike often. I think he actually only went down once on the opening day. He was just basically trying to find a very base setup for somewhere in between what Marc Marquez and Jorge Lorenzo would wish for, basically setting more or less his own preference. Bradl's riding style isn't too dissimilar from Jorge Lorenzo's in that they're both very smooth, and they generally do not like a bike with a very vibrating front end, unlike Marquez, who will just happily ride the wheels off anything that feels like a motocross bike.
And talking about replacement riders for testing, Brad Smith has been given the late call-up, hasn't he? Just explain why. I'm guessing most people will already know, but you explain.
Just in case you've been living under a rock or on a different planet for the last week, it emerged on the final day of the Sepang test. Bradley Smith, unannounced, took to the track for Aprilia, marking his first day in the job as test rider. He wasn't supposed to be there because the man who he was replacing was Andrea Iannone. Now we know he likes to take care of himself and look the part. However, skipping the final day of testing for, and I kid you not, to recover from the effects of plastic surgery to his jawline.
Very serious.
If a question has to be asked, surely, doesn't it, that is he really taking MotoGP life seriously?
I suppose you can't plan for botched surgery. I mean, these things happen all the time to models and glamorous people. And
let's be honest. Let's just look at his Instagram for a start. He has photos of him all the time. You can tell quite clearly, though, there is nothing wrong with his jawline to require any kind of surgery. It's
nothing wrong with his six-pack either, but, there you go. Talking about six-packs, by the way, hello, Kiko, who's diligently watching as I tuned in, listening. Hello, good evening. Anyway, Mr. Iannone, a lot of people understandably taking the piss because it's... but no, it could actually be a very serious thing. I mean, it could be that he doesn't get the enlargements that or augmentations that he need, or whatever he has done anyway. Good luck with those. What's he having done? His jawline.
Apparently, it was his jawline. Yes,
which is chiselled anyway. Can I just say?
So I'm led to believe, but yeah.
But I heard, I did hear though. I did read that apparently. Within 3 minutes of Iannone calling it quits on the final day, Bradley Smith was in his leathers and in the garage and rolling out a pit lane in 3 minutes.
Well, that's a handy message to your T-boss saying, come on, give me the ride. I'm still good enough to do this job. So, the question also has to be asked, well, maybe it doesn't have to be a question, but Bradley Smith, he's certainly done his case of getting a full-time ride again with Aprilia. No harm at all. So
my question is as well, if Marc Marquez can have such an extensive surgery on his shoulder, and let's be honest, he even admitted on the Repsol Honda team presentation that it was a lot worse than he thought it was going to be. If he can still manage to ride 3 days, okay, limited, for an injury that's through racing, you know where I'm going with that.
Well, it's completely different things, isn't it? You can't. It
certainly smacks of Mickey taking by Iannone. I don't think there's any doubt of that, especially when Marquez, although medical grounds would say he shouldn't have been at the test, he still pushed through that pain barrier because he's so desperate to get ahead of the game in terms of his own bike setup compared to who his teammate is this year. And
there was a lot of discussion, let's say, on social media as well from fellow riders like now BSB star Scott Redding, who I can't remember his exact quote. I don't have it up in front of me, and we tried to get a screenshot in time, but I couldn't.
I think it was along the lines of
they sacked him. They sacked him
for someone who has plastic surgery and can't. It was along them lines. And loosely, but it was to do with the plastic surgery and the fact that they sacked him, and
but I mean, there again, it's this thing about riders.
It has got to be frustrating because there is a lot of good riders. Loris Baz, another one, who have. I'm not doubting Iannone's work ethic at all, but. There's a lot of riders that, motorcycle racing is everything. They walk around paddocks on crutches, and you walk around some of these paddocks in mid-season, and you almost think you're on a pirate ship because they're all bandaged up. So there's a lot of good riders that are out of a ride.
Why would having your jaw a bit iffy though? Why would just because your jaw?
But it wasn't iffy. There was nothing wrong with it. Yeah. That's the thing I don't understand.
And what complications would arise from having as long as it doesn't fall off, you could just literally... it's only a jaw. Literally, people ride with broken, collarbone things, and they still do stuff. Who was it who was riding in BSB with a broken... I can't remember now, last season, someone literally broke their collarbone on the Saturday and jumped on the bike, convinced the doctor that they were okay, and I think it was at Silverstone.
Wasn't it Glenn Irwin with the broken neck?
I think it was Christian Eden. I think it was.
Yeah, Silverstone.
But anyway, that aside, if you've got any comments or questions, keep them clean so we can read them out. And about not just Iannone, but what you thought maybe of testing as well. Do you think perhaps Marquez is absolutely on the money for another season, considering he's already started out? Literally the way he's meaning to carry on and pushing through the pain barrier, sewing his shoulder back together just to get on the bike and prove everybody wrong, considering when his teammate couldn't do that. So let us know what you think. Moto2, I'm keen to sort of whiz through some of these news items, by the way. Moto2 news, because they were also out as well recently as well, Nat.
Yes, Moto2, to be honest, for the first time in a lot of years, looks really exciting because we're out with the old Honda 600cc CBR 600 engines that they were running, and we now have the Triumph 765 triple engines, which sound absolutely fantastic.
Better than the others?
By a mile.
Matter of opinion, but to me, I think they sound. I can't wait to hear 30 odd of them. Just all together. I think it's gonna. I think people are going to be surprised of how loud they're going to be. But yeah, I mean, as well as the engines, they've got a new electronic package. They're not running traction control, is the most notable thing, but they've got a lot of electronic goodies. They've got launch control this year, so the race starts should be all pretty civilised, sort of. And then obviously this week we've had MV Augusta reveal their first livery of their return to Grand Prix racing, which I have to admit, and I think Ed agrees with me, was maybe a little bit disappointing because I was expecting something along the World Supersport lines. So I'm personally not a fan. Their testing livery was nice, but their race livery, not my cup of tea. We obviously have a new British rider in a paddock, which is Jake Dixon, who comes over from being a runners-up in last year's BSB with Lee Hardy Racing, who now joins the Angel Nieto team. He looking at his social media, he looks like he's been enjoying life on the Moto2. I think he's enjoying the challenge. I think give him a little while to get into it.
How long has he got before we start slagging him off?
I think
race?
No, I think don't forget as well this year a lot of it's going to be learning the tracks.
Oh yeah, learning.
Like Qatar, he's probably never. I don't know if he's never ridden them, but
I do think he'll do well. That was.
Yeah, I think. Certainly the last 2 seasons in BSB, he really grew as a rider. So I'm excited to see what he'll do.
He might win. Might win the whole thing.
He might do. Stranger things have happened. But yeah, talking of riding Moto2 bikes, they were in Valencia and Jerez last week. I believe Jerez was the official IRTA test. Valencia was a smaller private test with Moto3 teams also there. And it was another British rider that topped the tables in Jerez, which was Sam Lowes on the Gresini, his old team from both MotoGP and Moto2 before that. So he topped the sheets, which was fantastic for, British hopefuls in Moto2.
Fantastic stuff. Now, going back to Triumph again. Some people, I don't know, what's your opinion on it, Nat? Triumph with the, I forgot the actual name of the 765.
Yeah,
them. the Triumph bikes. But your opinion on those, and was it the right change at the right time, perhaps, or should we just give them a chance to wait and see?
I think they needed to do something, because the first 3-4 years of Moto2 was brilliant. It was very, very close racing. It was very, very unpredictable. The last sort of 4, maybe 5 seasons, sort of since Tito Rabat won the title, I would say it's become a lot more space. When you get a good race, it's been good. But when the races have been spread out, which has been quite often, there's been sort of very much favourites. So, and then obviously with MotoGP, I know the cream always rises to the top, but they produce fantastic races week in, week out. Moto3, carnage as always. So I think they had to do something, and I think as well, I think they almost had to close the gap on the engines with MotoGP, because these new Triumphs are more powerful than the 600 cc's. They've got more torque. They've got more mid-range torque as well. So,
what necessarily mean better, more exciting races, though?
Not necessarily, but then also it could go the other way. It could be fantastic racing, because actually, who's to say that Kalex didn't have the best chassis? Who's to say that Kalex had the best chassis when they were on the 600 cc's, and actually now we're on 765 Triumph engines that someone like Speed Up or NTS are not going to sort of come to the top, and actually they've got the best chassis. I mean, testing is sort of showing that it's still very much status quo with regards to that, but I'm a true believer that you never really know until we get racing again, sorry.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
But I think it was the right choice. I think for British motorsport, I think it was a brilliant move. I think, obviously,
it's great
Triumph
to have the name, back.
Yeah, it's good to have a good British engineering name in a class in the MotoGP world. So I think it was a good move, and I think they had to do something to sort of start closing the gap to MotoGP, because the MotoGP bikes are nearly knocking 300 brake horsepower now. So I think it was a good move. I'm excited for it, and I think there's a lot of people that are really, really excited for Moto2 this year.
Definitely, yeah. And let us know your thoughts if you're tuned in live, listening to us, and you're a full cheerleader for the new bikes in Moto2. Then get in touch with us and tell us why. Alternatively, we will listen to you if you're not that much of a fan, if you're not very keen and you maybe think it won't be as good as everybody else thinks it will be. We want to know your opinions, because you don't just have to tune into the show and agree with everything that we say. Sometimes we like a good old argument, don't we, Ed? Oh yes, we do.
No.
Yes, we do. Anyway, so yeah, get in touch with us, and a big hello to Ryan Lilly, who's tuned in right now as well. Phil Simmons or Simons. Hello, Phil. And he is expecting lots of news coming out of Kiko Giles from Dorna. Hello, Carol Armstrong as well, regular listener of the show. Plus Liam Hodgins tuned in, probably, although he should be at work at the moment. Hello to Anna Marshall, Brian Knight, Owen Clark, Brent Sidwell, and Gary Brook, and Matt Thorne. Loads of people, everybody who's tuned in, even if it is just for a few minutes, just to check out what we're all about. And we will have BSB title contender Bradley Ray on this show moments away. Stay tuned. Right now, though, over to some Moto3 news. And, well, this one I completely forgotten all about, to be honest, but the news came out last season that Romano Fenati is actually coming back. He's going to start at the very bottom, back in the, I think it's on the same team as, again, I think. But I thought he'd lost, to me, I thought he'd have his license stripped off him. He was never going to ride again. He was literally worse than Hitler in some corners of the internet. Internet spoke.
You had to go there with that comparison, Lester.
That's not me. That's the internet speaking. You can't go against what the internet says. But anyway, he is back. Fanati. So he's back in. He's back starting at the bottom. Does he deserve it? Has he earned it? And are we going to see him better? He needs a mental coach, psychologist, whatever you call him, doesn't he? So he's back anyway.
He is back. You're quite right. He first had his license. First of which it was revoked until the end of the season. Then it became upgraded forever.
Yeah.
And then the whole thing got dragged through the Italian Court of Arbitration for Sport and an Italian Court of Appeal, and it somehow just got dropped all the way back to just the end of the season, and he can ride again.
Because I think that bit of news just sort of slipped through under most people's radar, to be honest, because as I said, I think they just presumed he was never going to ride again.
And perhaps rightly so. Yes, his old team, it was the Marinelli Rivercold Snipers team, now rebranded the Ascoli Vicino Snipers team, have taken him back. Of course, he had been in line to ride in Moto2 this year for the newly formed MV Augusta team, until obviously his antics in San Marino put paid to that. He's back. Will he have learnt his lesson? Well, to be honest, I don't think he's done much, if any, racing to prove if he has learnt any lessons. I'm actually not aware if he was racing domestically in Italy after he lost his Dorna license. Remember, the Dorna license is effectively kind of like the FIA super license. It's just about Grand Prix license. It's racing, and it doesn't affect domestic races.
Depends how much money you've got if you want one. That's basically that's why he's back. Let's be honest.
The frustrating thing about Fanati, and I will just stick this in his corner, he is immensely talented on a motorbike. There was the reason why he was picked up by the VR46 Academy years ago. It was why he's been allowed to keep having chances, whether it's been in the CV Repsol Junior World Championship Series or Moto3. It's they do see a very talented rider. Now, you touched on the point, Lester, about, although you probably jokingly said he could do with some kind of sports psychologist.
Serious, actually. A lot of people.
Well, yeah, he would certainly benefit from it. Absolutely, because he has this problem when he's being overtaken by someone, particularly if it's a close shave. Now, by close shave, we don't necessarily mean contact is made between riders and bikes.
He gets road rage.
It's red flag to a bull. You know how we often have the phrase of, someone's done you wrong, you get even with them. Well, he kind of misses something else, but yeah. He misses the get even bit completely and decides to just completely get back and get a whole load over them.
Can I weigh in quickly? Because I have to ask, how many chances does one individual get? I mean, how many last chances does one man need?
Yeah,
I mean, this pretty much started, as far as we know, we don't know how much happened before then, but this pretty much started in Austria 2016 when he had a big blazing row with Uccio, Rossi's right-hand man, and man who manages VR46. In fact, it started before that, because Argentina 2015, he kicked Nicolas Io. He then switched off Nicolas Io's bike on a practice start. And then, to be honest, for me, of every single offence a professional motorcycle racer can make, I think that pulling anyone's brake at 140 mile an hour is just completely unacceptable. And personally, if I was running a series, I wouldn't even want to be involved. I would have him out and just be like, no. How many chances does he get? Because the thing is, he's in Moto3 again this year. So, and let's be honest, has he changed his stripes before? And is there going to be a consequence if something happens again?
Although, aren't we just sort of now expecting him to do something? Isn't he like the kid who got expelled from school and then was given another chance, and then everyone, like literally first day back in school, everyone's looking at them to see if they'll punch a teacher in the face or something?
I mean, it's fair enough that the other competitors might be thinking like that, because he does have this track record. However, he is very talented on a motorcycle. He can win races extremely fast.
No denying that.
And so you can see why a team would want to give him a second chance to, well, just in case he has got his head sorted, he could win this championship, with relative ease compared to the competition, because there is this feeling that even though VR46 rightly got rid of him after he had a bust-up with several members of that team, that he could still make it as a top-level Premier category rider. Whether or not MotoGP would want him there, maybe he might have to go to World Superbikes or somewhere, I don't know. If we could, I suppose, compare with another sport, I suppose if you were managers of the various clubs of Joey Bartman's football career, it's exactly the first response. The amount of red cards, the amount of legs he's broken in the field, the amount of fights he's got into, both with his own team and with others. Yet, when he doesn't see red, as it were, no pun intended, he can be a very talented footballer. Same with Fanati.
You sound a bit like the girlfriend who's always wanting to give the other half one more chance. When he's not trying to kill you, he's all right, really.
Do you know what? What one of the things I read just shortly after he was sacked from VR46 was there was a statement that came out from Valentino Rossi, and he said that the VR46 Academy isn't just about producing good riders; it's about producing good people.
Boom. Well, yeah. Just like any great academy is. To be honest, it's not just about the raw talent. Anyway, so let us know your thoughts on Fanati. Blake Gibbons has been on, just saying that pulling a brake like that, you can imagine, say, for example, Blake says he had got stuck to the other bike. Could have done himself a right old mischief. I edited what he said. But Carol Armstrong says Fanati needs to get his head in gear, so I hope that he has the help that he does obviously need. She says, let's wait and see how he goes. The team obviously wants to give him a chance, and maybe we all should give him a chance as well. Yeah, we can literally slag him off for the rest of the show, but that would mean that we have no time for Brad Ray. So talking about other racing as well, there is actually other Moto3 news, isn't there, Ed?
Yes, there's been a few rider changes, as always, during the off-season. One in particular is Britain's John McPhee, who will be riding for his fourth team in as many seasons this year. So 2016, he rode for the Peugeot-badged Mahindra squad, which to date remains the team where he took his one and only Grand Prix victory at the Czech Grand Prix in Brno. In 2017, he rode for the British Talent team before they dissolved into the background to start up the British Talent Cup. And last year, he was with the CIP team before, despite it seemed to be going pretty well in that team, he decided to move out and join the new Petronas Sprinter racing team that's there for this year. Now, John McPhee, we've been talking about him for years, because even though he's only 22, I believe now.
Is that it? I thought he was 26 or something.
Yeah, he's been in the paddock since he was 15 years old.
Jeez.
But 22, he's in the nicest possible way, he's the old statement of Moto3.
He's knocking on a bit. Isn't there a time limit to what's the maximum?
28 is the limit, so he's got plenty of time there. It's more of a case of, this is probably the make or break here, in the sense that if he's ever going to move up to Moto2 and beyond, this is the year he's got to make a serious charge for the championship. Otherwise, he may end up being like Efren Vasquez, which was just Moto3 career, sadly for him.
BSB next year.
So that's John. I think he'd do quite well, to be honest, if he was in BSB. He's got a lot going for him. There is another British rider in Moto3 this year, Tom Booth Amos. He's moved up following his exploits in the British Talent Cup last year. He is replacing John McPhee at the CIP team in his rookie season, so we wish him all the best with that. And there's been no official test, and he hasn't certainly taken to the track yet. The first test officially begins on February the 20th next week for Moto3 at the Circuit de Jerez Ángel Nieto. There's a couple more rookies that are coming in, the most obvious being the Turkish sensation, which is Can Oncu, who memorably took his... It is Can, yes.
You said Can. Canon? No, I said Can. Okay.
Yes, you said Can. Stop confusing me at this time of day. It's
Turkish.
So, Can Oncu. He's the latest off the conveyor belt line in the Turkish factory of potential successors to Kenan Sofuoglu. Oh dear. So he has signed for Red Bull KTM Hayo this year. It follows his storming championship victory in last year's Red Bull Rookies Cup, and of course last year at Valencia, where he made his debut in the Moto3 World Championship class, and he casually took the win in appalling conditions at the circuit as well.
I can hear Liam cheering from here.
I believe the cheers back in Istanbul have still not stopped. So he's well on the way to becoming a national treasure over there, if he hasn't already done so before. So it's been a bit quiet in the Moto3 front, but I imagine once they all hit back for testing next week, that things are going to emerge from the paddock as rivalries are renewed. And let's just bring him back. How will the paddock react to the first sighting of Romano Fenati back in the championship this year?
I'd imagine.
Could be fun.
Yeah, certainly. That's one word for it. It could be definitely fun, or it could be a lynching. Let's as you know, people getting involved in the chat tonight said, let's just give peace a chance. As also John Lennon once said, I believe. There you go. But why not? So there you go. Moto3, Moto2 and MotoGP news so far. If you have any breaking news that you'd like to break on the show, then do get in touch with us. It's at M Sport Radio on Twitter, Motorsport Radio on the Facebooks, and we will stick edited highlights on the Instagram TV thing, which is a new thing as well, by Instagram TV, but you've got to realign it. You can't watch it properly, whatever. Anyway, going off topic. Hello to Charlie Andrews, tuned in. Hello there. Who says, nothing better than bike chat on Valentine's Day. That might just be a very miserable admission that you have nothing better to do than watch us or listen to us, Charlie. So sorry about that, but yeah, it is the Valentine's Day special, and I wonder what Ian One is up to this evening.
I'm not gonna lie.
No.
No, it's before. It's still just.
I could almost hear what you were thinking without you saying it. Anyway,
I can't say anything. It's before 9 o'clock.
It's never acceptable to say what you were going to say. Anyway, so yeah, Moto3 news. We have some World Superbike news as well, and also some road racing news, which broke today. Sort of breaking. It was more of a calendar confirmation, to be honest. But it came out today, only a few hours ago, and we'll tell you more about that a bit later. But before we get on to the rest of the news and the rest of the debate, which, by the way, don't know if I told you this, but tonight's big debate for the show, in the second part of the show, which we're almost into now, MotoGP wings, good, bad, or what the hell is going on with these wings? Now they're called, I think, what do like MotoGP like to call them officially? Aero assist.
Yes, the new guidelines for this year is we're supposed to call them aerodynamic fairings.
Wings, basically.
Yes.
But yeah, many careful observers of said MotoGP would notice that they started out just with a little sort of almost like a little crease here and there a couple of years ago, with maybe just a little light, a very, very light wing and then I think it was it the Ducatis that sort of like spearheading these things?
Yes,
Ducati came in with X Fighters in 2016. 2015 it started, and in 2016 they came in with like full Star Wars X-Wing fighters.
2015 was wonderful, where I think it was the Malaysian Grand Prix, wasn't it, where they just rocked up with these very flexible, large black tea trays on the front of the bike, basically, and it spiraled gloriously out of control from there.
And now they're heading very much towards looking as much of a mess as a Formula One from Wing. But yeah, let us know your thoughts on that. That is tonight's big debate. MotoGP wings. What's your opinion on it? Now, I don't right now, I don't personally. I'm going to tell you later anyway. We'll do the debate later. We'll park that. I just wanted to tease it for now. So if you're about wings in MotoGP, then hold on to that thought. Because right now, we are going to have a chat with Mr. Brad Ray, who joins us on the show. I chatted to him a couple of hours ago while he were in his van. Bradley Ray. Hi, Brad.
How you doing, guys? All right?
Very well, thank you very much. Thanks for coming back on the show. And we're speaking just after, a week or so after you came back from Malaysia to, I'd say, quote, test a MotoGP bike, or certainly give it a shakedown. Anyway, tell us how that came about.
It was all through Stuart and Steve Hickin from Hawk Racing. They've been in contact with Suzuki out in Japan, and obviously it helped me doing the Suzuka 8 Hour with Yoshimura. I think that obviously helped to try and secure the test. But yeah, it was quite last minute. I mean, we spoke a little bit about it last year to try and do the test on the GP bike, and it went a bit quiet over the winter. And Steve was still working hard to try and get confirmation from the Japanese and from the Suzuki team to say yes to be able to do a few laps on the GP bike, and they came back 3 days before I was supposed to be flying out. So it was a little bit late notice, but no, it was an amazing experience to be offered to go out there and spend the 3 days with the test team, and just being out there with them. And on the last day was able to do 2 15-minute stints on the GP bike.
Pretty good, certainly, and even though it might not have been a full-on full-blown test with like representative sort of tyres and times and stuff, it was still, I'm sure, a dream come true for you.
No, it was definitely. I mean, it's always something that I've always wanted to do as a kid, to throw my leg over a GP bike and to be given the opportunity by Suzuki. It was massive, and it's definitely a day in my career that I won't forget. Remembering from when I first started on the mini bikes to be able to chuck my leg over a GP bike is something quite special, and obviously, it's just one of them days that are going to stick with me forever.
Well, I have to ask, I'm sure lots of people listening will also be thinking the same thing. Are you going to be, Brad, at some stage, one of only a few people to make the switch directly from BSB into MotoGP?
Yeah, it's going to be difficult. It's never as easy as trying to get the deal done and move straight from BSB to MotoGP. Obviously, there's a few people in the past that have done it.
I think was the last person Shaky Byrne?
I think he was, yeah. He went from BSB into GP, I think. But yeah, like I said, the GP teams always seem to look more into Moto2 and bring riders up from Moto2 into MotoGP. But yeah, I mean, I think they should look outside GP, because there's a lot of talent in World Superbikes and also in British Championship.
Well, you've still got a lot to do this year anyway, so I just thought I'd get that question out there just in case you were maybe lining up a cheeky ride, something for 2020 maybe. And who knows, it could be a thing, and we hope so, certainly from our point of view. Any other sort of, because we know you did stuff like World Superbikes in the past, and is there a potential talk about any wildcard rides maybe in this year in MotoGP maybe?
The question hasn't been asked yet. We haven't really spoke to them about doing any wild cards. They've obviously got Juan Mir and Alex Rins as their two riders for this year, and they've also got Takuya Tsuda and Sylvain Gintoli as test riders. So it would be quite unlikely to get a test and to be able to do a wild card. But yeah, we'll see. It's going to be one of them where if anything pops up, then I'd have to take it.
I'm sure you would, yeah. Well, I'm sure you'd love to do something like that. So, of all the, I mean, you've ridden on many different bikes through your already long career, having started out in 2004 on a mini moto, was it?
Yeah. I started out in, I think, 2004 with Fab Racing, with Roger from Fab. I started off there on just the mini motos. And then worked through the stages on the mini bikes. Then went on to the Metro kits. I think in 2008, or was it 2008 or 2007?
Yeah, it was a Metro Kit 70 in 2008.
Yeah, Metro Kit 70. Yeah.
A
long time ago.
Pretty successful. Yeah, it was. Well, you say a long time ago. It was only 11 years ago. That's not that long ago.
Not too bad, is it?
But of all the bikes that you've been on so far, either competitively or just for a bit of fun, because I know you, for those who don't know, you do actually still go back to the Cool Fab Racing paddock just for a bit of fun, just to maybe keep yourself fresh and do that in between BSB weekends when you're not testing and doing other corporate commitments. But what would you say that you would be the most fun thing you've ever ridden on before?
It's difficult. I mean, race bikes.
Anything
100%. Really. The best bike I've obviously ridden has got to be the GP bike. Just because it's something so unique and so special, and not many people get the chance to be able to throw the leg over a full factory MotoGP bike. So that's probably one of my favourite bikes to ride that I've ridden. Sorry. But yeah, I enjoy just riding pit bikes, just for the fun. Like you say, I still go to Fab Racing, still go there to show my support to the young and up and coming lads, and yeah, just go back to where my grassroots are and have a bit of fun on pit bikes, and I even sometimes go on mini motos as well, which is good fun, interesting to watch.
Certainly is, yeah. And even though you might not be the most competitive with your frame and size anymore on the mini motos, it's still good to watch anyway. But so back to your BSB this year, and will you only be doing BSB this year? Because last year you went to Japan and did a couple of things out there, the Suzuka 8 hours as well. Is there any talk of doing that, or are you just looking to focus entirely on maybe winning BSB this year?
We'll see what it's like. I mean, the possibility could be there to do the Suzuka 8 hour again with the Yoshimura Suzuki team. So we'll see what happens in the first few rounds of the British Championship, see where we are championship wise, and see how much time it's going to take out of the year to go out to Japan. So we'll see on that. I'd like to do the 8 hour again. If I get the invite, then I'm sure we can do the 8 hour again. On the World Superbike side, I'm not too sure what we're going to do yet. It all depends on where the rounds fall into the British Championship, and we'll just see along the way if we can do a few wild cards. But yeah, obviously my main focus this year is got to be to do my best in the British Championship. I mean, we was good last year, a little bit inconsistent. We showed good results. So this year we've got to crack on, knuckle down and get the best results we can, and concentrate on the BSB and do the best job we can as a team.
And talking a bit more about that consistency, I suppose, obviously it's always difficult to get consistency, but have you got a special method now, do you think, or a certain approach that you've found that you think will keep you consistent in the title hunt this year?
I think with what we learnt last year, I think we can go into this year a lot more positive, and with what we learnt, I think we can attack the championship in a different way. I learnt a lot in myself last year, and the team learnt a lot about the bike, and I learnt a lot about working with the team together, and they learnt a lot about me. So 2018 was a massive experience year, a massive learning year for me and also for the team. And I think with what we learnt last year, we can improve this year and be a lot more consistent. And yeah, just with what we learnt, I think we can start moving forward and make the championship a little bit better.
A lot of people already, with some of the front-running names from last year in 2018, having left BSB now, gone on to do other things like Jake Dixon and Haslam as well. A lot of people looking to you, especially Brad, now to step up and be one of the, if not the, title contender.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because obviously Jake and Leon were one of the two standout riders from last year and obviously one of the strongest, but it's going to be exactly the same this year. I mean, BSB doesn't get any easier. There's 2 people left, but there's going to be 2 people that have come in and going to be fighting up the front. So that's the good thing about BSB. It's never going to be a championship where it's dull. It's never going to be easy. There's always going to be people out there. There's always going to be a fight for the win and there's always going to be 6 or 8 people fighting for the victory. So there's a few people I've got in mind who are going to be very, very strong this year throughout the year. But yeah, we've just got to go in and do our own job and concentrate on ourselves and work out what we're going to do next year to make it a better year. Obviously, we managed to secure the showdown this year. But once we was in the showdown, we wasn't strong enough and wasn't consistent enough. So there's a lot we got to work on for this year, and I think we've learned a lot last year to move forward.
Yeah, certainly. And if this 2019 season is anything like last year, it will be certainly sensational. Anyway, but yeah, there's usually the say 2 or 3 or 4 candidates that usually emerge as the front runners, and then there's like probably 10 others that you look at to maybe possibly get into the showdown. So have you all, I know you've probably already got it in your mind who you think your main people are who you have to look out for? Have you already started the mind games on Twitter and stuff?
No, I don't do any of that. I try and keep myself quiet, keep myself out of the way and not let people know what I'm doing or what I think. So that's my attitude. That's the way I go about things. I just go there and do my job and do it to the best I can. I mean, there's a few people who I know are going to be strong throughout the whole year. You've obviously got people who are going to be strong at a few rounds and not so strong at others. But at the end of the day, it's British Championship, it's BSB. So there could be surprises throughout the whole year. So yeah, I'm ready to give it everything I've got. I think we can be a title contender, that's for sure. So yeah, we just do what we can and keep strong throughout the year.
And one final question before we let you go home, I guess, to prepare for the season. The pre-season, which we're in at the moment, is always so, I suppose, competitive, really. Nobody exactly knows what everybody else is doing. Some people going off to do a bit of training in various people's training camps and stuff all over the world and doing various bits of things. And I know you've been doing some stuff as well, having a bit of fun here and there. But training and also a lot of sponsor work as well is massively more probably important now so than ever before to get the personal sponsors that can get you the rides in the first place. So if you were particularly I don't know if you had like a tip for some of the younger riders who were maybe just starting out racing and because you're going through that phase and you have already come through that phase and you're still quite young and you are still learning a lot. But if you've got any advice for younger riders as well, Brad, what might it be, if anything?
The one thing that I've always not learned from racing, but always had in the back of my mind is the drive to do it. From when I was a young kid, from when I first started out, it's always something that I've wanted to do. So I've been quite self-driven to keep my mind on the racing and give it everything I've got to try and succeed in it. And yeah, if you're a youngster coming through, you've got to be 100% committed to wanting to become a motorcycle racer. Don't ever be pushed into doing it, because you'll find the results won't be there and you won't enjoy it. That's the one thing I've always said to myself: you've got to go out there, you've got to have fun, and you've got to enjoy it. When the enjoyment stops and when you don't have fun anymore, then that's when you know it's maybe time to look for something else. Because we all start racing because we want to get somewhere, but at the end of the day, we all start as well because we absolutely love it and enjoy it, and it's something that we're so passionate about and want to succeed. So for any of the young kids out there, just keep going, keep moving forward, and keep believing in yourself, and just do what you can to succeed, and obviously be self-driven. Don't be driven by other people or by family members or anything like that. If you want to do racing, then do it for yourself. If you don't want to do racing but you're being pushed, then maybe have a sit down and find something else. But yeah, just give it all you got, and enjoy it and have fun.
Top advice for any young racer as well, not just rider. Brad, you have a lot of support online from your fans and also sponsors as well. Who's with you this year?
Yeah, obviously we stick with Suzuki, with Hawk Racing. I've got my long-term sponsor and manager, Roger Keys and Robert from Fab Racing. They've stayed with me since I first started on the Metro kit. We've obviously got Shark helmets who have been very loyal to me for many years now. Dan Easy Levers, this will be my second year with them. And then a few personal sponsors, Swinton Insurance, they're sticking with me again this year. We've got Eyesight down in Brighton who sort out all my glasses and contact lenses, making sure my vision is the best it can be. And also a few other little sponsors. We've got Watches of Distinction who've come on board these past few years. SYPC, my S&C coach who does all my training throughout the winter and keeps me fit and mind fit throughout the year and through the winter stages. So if there's anyone out there who I've missed, obviously the biggest sponsor and the biggest people for getting me here today is my mum and dad and family who have stuck by me since I first started racing and still now support me as much as they can. So now a big thank you goes out to them for supporting me and allowing me to do something I've always dreamed to do.
Always down to earth and always great to chat to, and you're more than welcome to come back on the Superbike show anytime you like, Brad.
Thank you very much.
Especially after you are the BSB champion of 2019. Yeah, excellent. Thank you for taking a few minutes out of your day and for coming on the show, and we will speak to you soon.
No problem. Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Ben Curry.
Hello, I'm Josh Elliott.
Hi, I'm Jonathan Ray from the Kawasaki Racing Team.
I'm Keith Farmer.
This is Motorsport Radio.
Hi, I'm Joan Zacco, Motorsport Radio.
I'm Ryan Vickers, and this is Motorsport Radio.
Hi, I'm Michael Laverty, and this is Motorsport Radio.
Hi, I'm Bradley Wright. This is Motorsport Radio.
The Superbike Show on Motorsport Radio.
Yay! Thank you very much, Brad, for coming on the show once again. And what a fantastic lad he is. So down to earth, as I said. And I'd already crowned him the 2019 BSB champion at the end there. So I guess we skipped ahead to the predictions phase of the show. But yeah, why not? He's like I said, he is in with probably the best show.
He's got such a good team around him. He's incredibly talented. What impresses me the most, though, is how level-headed he is for such a young racer that goes out there. Last year, he had the highs at the opening round at Donington, where he swept the ball in the two races. And he had the lows the second half of the season, just when it just seemed that the bike would just never quite be how he wanted it. But he didn't whinge, he didn't moan to the press or anything like that. He just got on. They're going to be sorting it out over the winter. We know that. We know how hard he works. This season, he's certainly going to be one of the season favourites, I think, to start with. And he is going all the way to the top. He's too modest to say that to his own, but yeah, a Suzuki seat in MotoGP, that would be the least he deserves right now. He touched on in the interview that he he's not confident about World Superbikes. Well, certainly if he's to stay with the Suzuki setup at the moment, there's no team in World Superbikes that's Suzuki powered, so he would have to cut the ties that he's worked so hard to gain with Suzuki right now. So MotoGP seems to be the long-term way to go about it. If you can go up as a British champion, though, absolutely. I'm
not so sure, to be honest. I get the strong feeling, the sense that he is looking to... I mean, as I think a lot of other people are thinking along the same lines as you. Maybe do BSB, get a championship in there, and then go to World Superbikes and then see how you are in there, and then maybe in a few years' time, mid to late 20s, then step up to MotoGP. I don't think that's going to be his route at all. I think he's going straight into MotoGP, directly at the top, not Moto2. I think he's going directly into MotoGP. Few have done it, as I said earlier in the interview. Very few people have done it. Even less people have made it work and succeed at it. Shaky. But, can be done, and it has been done before, and maybe Brad Ray is going to be the next person to go directly from BSB into MotoGP. Why not? Stunned silence from Nat, who's only now just realised that he muted his mic.
Yeah. No, I think... Yeah. I was miming. No, I think Brad Ray is a more than capable candidate of being able to go from BSB straight into MotoGP. Having said that, obviously, I mean, he said it himself. It's not an easy task because they're picking up riders very, very young now. I mean, all you've got to look at is sort of Juan Mir from Mark VDS last year straight into Suzuki. But I think, honestly, Brad Ray's got that. I think he's just got the work ethic, the determination, and Suzuki clearly believe in him to give him the 8-hour ride and to lend him a MotoGP bike to give it a taste. Suzuki clearly sort of feel that he's a valuable asset to them. So. I think it'll be hard, but I think he's capable of doing a jump from BSB to MotoGP. I don't think, and it will certainly break headlines if he does. No, I think I think we all agree that he is definitely capable and one of the most likeable young men in BSB at the moment, and deserves at least a BSB title under his belt by, I don't know, let's say the end of the season. Anyway, but let us know your thoughts if you tuned in live to us. You can get in touch with us on Twitter, where we are streaming right now. Yes, we definitely are streaming at M Sport Radio. So, I always forget that we stream on there as well. But, stream the show live at M Sport Radio. Also streaming on the Facebooks as well, and on our website, which is motorsport.radio, where you can also take us with you 24 hours a day with our radio stream as well. So, we don't just stream in visual format as well. We actually are an old-fashioned radio thing as well. That do, online thing anyway. Point being, if you're in your car and you can't obviously sit and watch, then you can plug your phone in and have us on your stereo. Live, why not do it? I've done it. I know of at least one other person who's done it as well. Anyway, what did you listen to yourself?
No. I think Kiko might have done a couple of times. That's the only reason he used to listen, to be honest. Anyway, I know he's still tuned in right now, just to see if we'll mention him, and we did. So you can go to bed now. All right, so yes, on with the rest of the other stuff that we were getting on to talk about, and there is still quite a hefty amount to talk about, Ed, because World Superbikes is apparently, judging from what everybody's been saying, going to be bigger than recent years. And we said this last year with some anticipation, and it didn't quite turn out to be correct. But the sense is that this is the year of a big resurgence in World Superbikes. Why?
Well, there's several reasons why it could be. First, probably the most obvious one is we've got 5 manufacturers coming into the sport this year that will all be providing full factory works teams for 2019. We've got one each for Kawasaki, Ducati, Honda and BMW, who are returning to the sport after, I've forgotten off the top of my head how many years BMW have been away without a factory supported team. So on Honda, first time they've got a full factory team since 2002, which I believe the year when Colin Edwards won the World Championship, memorably staged one of the most incredible fightbacks in the second half of the season to snatch the title from Troy Bayliss at the final round in Imola. And there are going to be 2 factory-supported teams that Yamaha are providing. Let's see, the Pate Yamaha team that have been in the paddock now for a number of years, and the new GRT Yamaha, which they've come up from Supersports to have fun in the top class this year. And that's all being powered by the new Yamaha European Racing factory base in Spain. So as Yamaha, they've decided they're taking this year, in collaboration with their MotoGP project, that they're also going to try and take the World Superbike title from Kawasaki. That's not going to be easy because Ducati have brought out their new bike, of course, over the winter, the Ducati Panigale V4R. It's come through, and by all accounts, it is incredible. According to the riders, the teams, everyone, it's the best thing since sliced bread. In raw facts terms, in terms of horsepower and the rev count, and we'll get on to why the rev count is so important in a moment, is that they can boast 235 brake horsepower on the straight and can get it up to a fairly substantial 18,000 RPM. Now, why do we mention the revs so much? Well, because the technical regulations for this year's World Superbike stay pretty much exactly the same as last year, which means after 3 rounds, and every 3 rounds after that in this championship, depending on who's dominating, whichever team is scoring the most wins, podium finishes, they are told to limit the amount of revs that they can run their engines at. So, with that in mind, the likes of Ducati and BMW and Yamaha have actually tuned their engines so far up to produce this incredible amount of horsepower for a production bike to try and offset that potential penalty that will come in later in the season in the regulations. Riders, much has been made about Alvaro Bautista moving across from MotoGP into a full factory Ducati role, and he seems over the winter tests to have taken to superbikes like a duck to water. He hasn't made a single attempt on your usual headline lap times, hasn't even attempted a run on a qualifying tyre that, as far as I'm aware. In fact, only Kawasaki, according to my sheet, have actually run a qualifying tyre in testing, which means that Ducati, unlike previous years, have focused exclusively on race setup. And they're confident wherever they go in the world now, they're going to be fighting. Certainly, they're never going to be off the podium, if not quite winning. Kawasaki, they've brought out a new bike this year to try and counter the threat Ducati. But given that they've chosen already to put in a flying headline lap time, suggests that perhaps their advantage is certainly going to be nowhere near as great as it has been in previous years. Jonathan Rea, now, is he already feeling the heat? Well, there was a moment, if you were following the second of the 2 winter tests at Portimao, when there was a moment where Jonathan Rea had been circulating around on track halfway through what looked like a long run. Alvaro Bautista came out of the pit lane, close up behind Jonathan Rea midway through a lap. Jonathan Rea immediately backed out of the lap. So, and that repeats itself across the 2 days. It also happened when Bautista was leading Rea, and there were apparently, according to some journalists who were down in the paddock, there were a few choice words said by the 2 of them. Not necessarily nasty words, but certainly they weren't asking each other out for a dinner and a beer at the end of the day, kind of thing. So there's a healthy rivalry, we should say, between the 2 as they head into the start of the season. I don't, given the personalities of the two, it probably won't boil over into something like Lorenzo Rossi type thing, or Rossi Biaggi, if we're going down that extreme route of rivalry. However, there is genuine feeling in the paddock that this year, Ducati at least, have the bike and a rider who will consistently take the fight to Jonathan Rea, which is certainly good for the neutral fans. Yamaha, although they haven't brought a new bike, they look to have, they've crept under the radar. They've been steadily there, rarely out of a top 5 across the 2 tests. Alex Lowe's, Michael van der Mark, they both won races now in this category. They're both looking to make that next step. And the R1 is a sound machine. It really was. The M1 guys in MotoGP were struggling last year. The Yamaha R1 boys in Superbikes were having an absolute field. They're getting the most out of that machine that they could. They've updated the bikes, and with factory support this year, they're expecting that they can push on to the new level. BMW, it's very difficult to tell what we're getting from them so far after just 2 tests. However, they seem to be a lot more competitive than they thought they would be. Tom Sykes has a smile on his face for the first time in, how many years? He's feeling the buzz down at BMW. He's looking forward to a new season. He's got the last ever super stock champion in Marcus Reiterberger as a teammate alongside, who is desperate for top-class success this year. So those two will be pushing each other all the way with the bike, the team development throughout the year. To if they're not going to be podium in Phillip Island, they're certainly going to be podium contenders, certainly by halfway through the season, and potentially both could have won a race or 2 by the end of the season. Honda, we don't know. Now, they took a setback over the winter because the old Ten Carter team, who had been responsible for running the Superbike operation, they pulled the plug. Very nearly were declared bankrupt over the winter, and they pulled out. Honda Racing Corporation, HRC.
I thought they actually were declared. I thought they did actually sort of go into
conflicting reports. Some said they were bankrupt. Some said they were in administration. Either way, they pulled the plug. The team never actually, I don't think they actually announced if they had gone bankrupt or anything. But either way, it was sad to see them go, because they've been in the paddock for so many years since, the turn of the millennium and before that they've been in. So the real staple team of World Superbikes has gone. HRC, to their credit, have picked up the Honda baton, as they should. And for the first time since 2002, we have a full factory Honda team that's on the grid. They've got Leon Camier, who carries on from his exploits under the old Red Bull Ten Carter Honda team from last year, who, despite his injury problems, he got to grips with the Honda throughout the season, and he looks set to take the next step with the team this year. In his teammate and development rider is veteran Japanese and British Superbike rider, indeed former British Superbike champion Ryuichi Kiyanari.
Oh, yeah.
Comes in. At 37, the question is obviously, has he really still got it? Amazingly not. Although he does still look like he's only in his late 20s. It's
just a name that's been around for ever.
It has. I mean, with most of these talented kids, they're on the scene from about 15, 16 years of age, aren't they? So he's in his 20th or 21st season of professional racing now, which is remarkable, really. He's mainly been brought on for helping the development package of the Honda, having ridden the long endurance races for HRC and in Japanese Superbikes. They expect he can quickly be able to tell the team exactly what's what, get the bike up to optimum standards. Camier has the raw pace to get the main results. That's the theory and the working we imagine behind that decision. But it is looking like a very competitive field throughout the 2 tests. There has never been more, really, than a third of a second between the Kawasaki, Ducati, BMW and the Yamaha. Honda a little bit further back, the other side of half a second, but nowhere near the amount of time gap that they were, last season, when they were in places the best part of 2 seconds off the pace. So huge improvement for them as well. We will get a much closer idea of the true pecking order at the start of next week, when the teams head to Phillip Island and do a final pre-season test. There, they will all, have a go on the qualifying tyre, as it's a new compound to last year. If you're new to World Superbikes and you're not quite sure what's the difference between a qualifying tyre and a race tyre, the best way to describe it is kind of bring the Formula One tyre.
Quality tyre would be faster, I'm guessing.
Yeah, yes. So you normally have a hard, a medium, and a soft compound that you can run in your race trim. You can imagine a qualifying tyre is the equivalent of a Formula One ultra soft tyre. It will do an incredible 1, maybe 2 lap times in a row, and then it'll suddenly go off the pace. But that's probably where we will see the true performance of these bikes over that single lap, which will be important as, well, the organisers for World Superbikes have, again, they've tinkered with the
rules.
Race schedule
and
this
the
year.
schedule,
They've had to this year because there was demand from the fans that they wanted to go back to having 2 races on a Sunday. TV broadcasters, they really liked having 1 race on a Saturday, 1 race on a Sunday, because to them, obviously...
Which TV broadcaster said that?
Pretty much all of them, because whilst we saw a decline in spectators going to the track, we have actually seen an increase in viewers on TV watching it. So the broadcasters, obviously, they were winning with that out there. So the organisers, Dawn, have come up with a very interesting solution, and one I actually think could work quite well. We've got 3, not 1, not 2, but 3 races.
It's not exactly what you said when it was announced.
Well, it took me by surprise when it was announced, and here's the explanation behind the race schedule. So the whole weekend is a new format. Fridays we'll see the Superbikes head out track for only 2 free practice sessions this year, so no longer 3 as have been last year and the year before. The 3rd practice session moved to Saturday morning, but that's been redubbed Superpole 1.
Hey.
Now, if you were following World Superbikes last year, the combined times where it would essentially do MotoGP style, where the top 10 would go straight through to Superpole 2, opposition shootout, and everyone else would battle through for the remaining 2 spots in Superpole 1. That's been discontinued. It's essentially back to how qualifying used to be in the old days, certainly in MotoGP. It's a single session. It's essentially qualifying practice. That will set the grid. That will set the grid, exactly, for Superbike Race 1, which will happen at the same time as it often does. Well, it has done for the last couple of years. So the last race event on a Saturday afternoon. Finishing positions for Superbike Race 1 don't matter at all. Actually, they do, because it was... Forget I said anything there. They will matter. They are the starting grid for the Superpole race.
Wait,
which
what?
Is
Superpole race?
The Superpole race. So, Sunday morning, we have the warm-ups.
Didn't you just say that it was like a...
Hang on, we're getting there. Don't jump the gun, Lester. So we have the Sunday morning warm-ups. Then we have this shortened, what had originally been called a sprint race, a 10-lap race. That is the Superpole race. So it's essentially a sprint in the championship, because it will count towards the championship. There are points that will be awarded to it. We'll get onto those in a moment. So it's a 10-lap race, which will set the grid for Superbike Race 2, even though it's actually Race 3, which will be the very last race of the day on the Sunday.
So is the Superpole race a non-race, even though it's clearly a race?
Well, this is where it could actually surprisingly be quite good. The early race in the championship, I would imagine the front-running contenders will perhaps not overcommit to this one, because they'll be looking to keep the paddock. Of course, by all means, they'll score some points, but they won't, risk a DNF for an extra place, whereas they might during the main feature races, as it were. The more I've thought about this, the more I actually think the smaller independent teams could really target the Superpole race, as although a victory in the Superpole race won't count as an official Superbike race win, because it's only half distance. Well, given the championship points sequence, this is the moment of opportunity for the independent teams, the sponsors, TV time, lots of money, bonus that will come in. So the likes of Toprak Razgatlioglu, who is desperate to break into the top line of Kawasaki, racing the Moto Pachetti, Eugene Laverty, who's on the Orlac Ducati this season in what many might consider it's his last chance saloon year in World Superbikes this year. It's a race he could really target with smaller independents who can't match consistently the performance of the big factory supported teams, especially now as there are even more of them on the grid this year. So from an independent racing point of view, the Superpole race could be brilliant to watch. I said there were points for it. So let's first, the points for the main races, Superbike races on the Saturday and Sunday remain exactly the same. So
race 2 and 3. Wait, no, sorry, race 1
and 3. Race 1 and 3. Oh, although they are called Superbike Race 1 and Superbike Race 2 still. Anyway.
Okay.
There's still the points system as they have been previously, which are exactly the same as they are in Grand Prix racing. So 25 for the win, 20 for second, 16 for third, and they go all the way down.
Points, though?
Yes, they are still called points.
Like tokens or something?
No, they are points. There was a brief idea, I think, of a token system, but it got quickly shelved. So we need not concern ourselves with that anymore. So 25 for a full race distance win, and the top 15 riders across the line score points. So the Super Pole race, because it's only 10 laps, only the top 9 are going to score points. And it's 12 points for a win, and obviously going all the way down. 9 points for second, 7 points for third, all the way down to 1 point for ninth. So it will have a bearing on the championship. Early rounds, as I've said, I don't think the top factory teams, Kawasaki and Ducati and possibly Yamaha as well, won't be overly concerned about winning those races, especially if there's a severe dogfight with some very hungry independent riders who, in contrast, will be looking to have their moment in the sun on the World Superbike stage. However, of course, the second half of the season, when the championship battle really hots up, then you're likely to see the riders who are really chasing the championship leader to really step up in the Superpole race. So I think it's going to actually work. It's a bit confusing to get your head around. I think it's one of those where we definitely have to give it a try this year. And it to me, it has the potential that it could be a winner. I think we've got to give it a go.
Ed, question, right? Because it's not deemed as a race as such, right? So it's a Superpole race.
Yes.
If an independent rider wins a race, you know, Lavity, whoever, will that actually then be classed as a race win, or will it be counted as a pole position?
Good question.
I believe it'll be counted as a pole position because it's the Super Pole race and it sets the grid for the final big Superbike race. But it's still a race, though. It's not officially being counted as race wins in terms of career stats and record stats. So, yeah, they're not counted. I'm currently triple checking this as I'm going on because there are still bits, as we can all tell, are clearly not still crystal clear. I think they'll become more clear as we watch it unfold. But yeah, my understanding is that they're not going to count as race wins in the sense of a rider's career stats or team stats or anything like that. Points accumulated count towards the championship, so it's not a Superpole championship in itself. It's part of the main championship, the points. And a Superpole race win, just to be even more confusing, doesn't count as a race win, it counts as a pole position because whoever wins that race will start race 3 from pole position.
But it is still, the fans will see a race happening and think a race is happening, and then, I mean, the casual fans, and then for them to say, actually, what you thought you saw was the race happening and some guy won the race, that wasn't the case. That wasn't even a race, and that guy didn't even win because it wasn't a race.
I've got another question, right? So you touched on, right, that the TV broadcasters like the Saturday race, and the spectators liked having 2 races on a Sunday. So I'm excited to see another race. So 3 races for me, or 2 races and a Superpole race. You know, more action. You know, is what it is. But would you not have thought that maybe another solution would have been move the 2 races to Saturday? Because if it's to do with TV viewings, right? This is my argument, right? So
do you mean the two feature races to Sunday?
Yeah.
The two
So
okay.
Effectively, if they're sort of going on about the TV view, surely that's because most other series, MotoGP, BSB, etc., they all run Sunday races. So is it likely, a bit like Formula E?
Yeah.
No one. Formula E probably gets really good views on a Saturday
because there's nothing else on.
They'll watch a race on a Saturday, and then F1 races on a Sunday. So actually, neither championship's lost out.
Kind of makes sense, to be honest.
This is where I wish I could have been privy in the discussions, as discussions would have happened for this. So as I said, the fans and the circuits wanted 2 races on a Sunday. The broadcasters wanted 2 races across the weekend. Circuits said, particularly Donington, they did say that if 2 races on Sunday wasn't coming back, they couldn't justify hosting it because the fans obviously weren't coming through the gates. Broadcasters would equally have probably said, well, we'll drop it we'll drop it from our schedules if we don't have 2 races across the weekend. So Dorna, to be fair to Dorna, they were caught between a rock and a hard place out here, and this seems to be the only solution that they could possibly come up with to have a remote chance of appeasing both parties. How I would have done it, personally, I would have had the Super Pole race on the Saturday.
Yeah, I was going to say that as well. And then have race 1 and 2 on the Sunday. Yeah. Makes sense.
Yes, and because the grids are set for, the second Superbike race, where you could easily set that on your finishing order or fastest lap times, or have that quirky partial reverse grid that we've had the last couple of years out there. So there were options. Whether or not it turns out in TV discussions with Dorna, the TV channel said, no, we need a feature race on each day, which probably forced Dorna's hand into agreeing to this format that we now have for this year. I still think it could work, and we do need to give it a chance. I mean, we haven't really got much of a choice for this season.
I think it's one of those systems that like anything else, I think they're trying something new. I think we'll find out quite quickly if it's a winner. But I think it's one of them systems they'll potentially tweak, because now they have that 3rd race option in there. We might go into next year and over the winter they might say, right, we've tweaked it, so Super Pole race on a Saturday, 2 features on a Sunday, or they're all going to be race, so it'll be race 1, 2 and 3 like a BSB usually on a bank holiday.
More triple headers.
Having a triple header, but throughout the whole season, because touring cars were quite famous for that when they done that. They went over to triple headers permanently. But
I would imagine that the teams probably said we don't physically have the manpower, the times and the parts to potentially repair the bikes, get them all back up to optimum spec for 3 races a weekend. Because a lot of the world's Superbike teams, it's worth mentioning, they're not run but like MotoGP teams. They're on, in comparison, a shoestring budget compared to the GP bikes. So
I think it's worth mentioning on that case.
They had a say in this. So
I think it's worth mentioning on that case, though. BSB teams are on a shoestring budget compared to World Superbike, and they managed to pull off triple headers.
Are we effectively getting towards the point where we say, put Stuart Higgs in charge of World Superbikes, he will sort it all, because he has done.
Well, then you would have a carbon copy of BSB, which would
be excellent.
Yes, but it would defeat the whole point of World Superbikes in the sense of World Supers wouldn't have its own identity. So you can understand why Dorna have not gone in that direction either. Now, BSB is a fantastic championship. Absolutely. I don't think anyone on the planet who's seen it would deny that. I think, though, we have to give Dorna credit in that they haven't stood still. They haven't, contrary to a lot of critics who like to claim that they're just killing the series. They're not. They are trying to make things work. They're trying to create a unique formula that works for the series and give it its own identity. And the reality of that is you have a lot of trial and error. This is the latest thing that they've come up with. And I think, honestly, it's better than what we've previously had, because we do have 3 races, even though, as you said, Lester, 1 isn't quite a race, even though it sort of is. It gives more to Sunday, especially with the Super Pole race being the first race action and then you have Supersport 300, Supersport that come through, and it all builds towards that final Superbike race. Again, I think it will bring the crowds back in. Time will tell whether it works. I think also if the field is competitive, the complaints about the race format will die away. So, and we will see the crowds back in. So, and it's more points potentially for another rider to take off Jonathan Rea Kawasaki.
I think it would have been very easy for Dorna not to do anything with World Superbikes. And to be honest, World Superbikes needed changes. It did. When Dorna got World Superbikes, it needed changes. What I would like to see, personally, and this is me personally saying this, is I remember years ago, World Superbikes
when
go
things
to every
were good.
corner of the globe. Where I'm trying not to sound like Kiko. When it was in its prime, and let's be honest, it's not it's not Dorna's fault. It's not World Superbike's fault. It's just, and it might go full loop. We might get 5 years down the line, and actually, World Superbikes is the event to be going to, and MotoGP might take a dip. But what I would like to see is, I remember all these the World Championship going to every corner of the globe, and every round there was national wildcards because. The BSB machinery was the same as World Superbike machinery. The AMA machinery was the same as the World Superbike machinery. The same with the Italians. But the list goes on. But the machinery was all even for all Superbike classes across the world. So I'd like to see that sort of come back. Whether it be sort of like they meet in the middle between what everything is now and what World Superbikes is, or they bring World Superbikes down a notch on, because let's not forget these World Superbikes have probably a similarly advanced ECUs as MotoGP, probably not quite as top as MotoGP, but not far off.
I suppose our final word on it would be, let's just wait and see. It's really not far away. Now, literally round the corner in next week, isn't it? Next weekend.
Yes, it is.
So, we will...
next weekend.
Yeah, Phillip Island. And, so we'll be doing an official preview on next week's Superbike show and doing a review the week after that and so on and so forth. As I'm sure you will probably understand the format if you've ever listened to the show before. This is the Superbike show. If you've never... tuned into us, and we do this usually live, usually on a Thursday, depending on whether we've got somewhere to be, but it's usually always on a Thursday, usually always live, and we streaming live on Twitter right now at M Sport Radio, streaming on Facebook, Motorsport Radio, streaming on the website motorsport.radio, and loads of other places. Facebook, did I say that? Yeah. And in audio as well on our website, so you can literally stream us if you can't watch us, because we do visual radio as well, so it's all good, yo. Loads of breaking news, a tiny bit of breaking news. It's not so much breaking, rather than just a confirmation of a calendar in the road racing world. Ed?
Yes, it's the road racing calendar has indeed been confirmed this week. There's now, just so we're all clear, we're talking about mainly the Irish road racing calendar, along with the big international road races that happen throughout the year. So all the action, the key races we'll just run through. The action all kicks off at Cookstown 100 this year on April the 26th and 27th, which is the big curtain raiser. We're likely to see almost a full A-list of road racers attending that one, because it's the big warm-up before two major international meetings, the Northwest 200 and the Isle of Man TT, of course. There's been a few returning additions to this year's road championship, most notably the Armoy road races, which sat out last year after a combination of poor weather and a low entry number of competitors forced the organisers to abandon the meeting. Hopefully better weather this year will mean one of Ireland's most popular race weekends goes ahead again this year. The Ulster Grand Prix, well, that's going to be incredible, as it always will be. It's trying to win back the mantle of being the fastest road race on the planet after Peter Hickman casually blitzed the Isle of Man TT lap record last year to better the Ulster Grand Prix lap record by half a mile an hour, which, yeah, British-Irish rivalry and all that. Ulster Grand Prix wants its title back. So that Ulster Grand Prix is happening from the 5th to the 10th of August this year. And then we have the Invitational season curtain. I'll say that again. The Invitational event, which draws the curtain down on the season, the Macau Grand Prix in the middle of November.
Yeah.
As always. It should be another great season of racing out there on the roads in Ireland. And if you do get a chance to head out there over the summer, I thoroughly recommend it, particularly the likes of Armoy, Cookstown, Tandragee. They're some of the staples of the Irish road racing calendar, and the people are great out there. So I fully recommend you go over and give the races a watch.
So for someone like me who, rather ashamedly, has not yet been to see a road race, and me and Kiko almost ended up going to the Northwest 200, but we didn't in the end. So which would be, like, for, let's say, a total newbie to road racing, the best one to sort of like get into as a total noob of road racing?
I would say, there are so many good ones, Lester. That is a cruel question. It's also a wonderful question. Mass start races, I would say the Northwest 200 is the one. It's huge, the biggest international mass start road race there is on the calendar. The great thing about attending road races is, apart from the likes of us having to pay ferry or aeroplane fees to go over to Ireland, there's no circuit admission fees unless you want a grandstand ticket. Spectators line the course pretty much all throughout roads. It's a week of free racing that you go and see. Paddock is usually open to spectators as well, pretty much similar to how BSB is.
And it's got some good media coverage as well, hasn't it?
It does. I mean, we will be covering the biggest events this year, and there are slightly older, more established media outlets that also cover the races too. But I believe we're covering the big internationals this year, the Northwest 200, the TT and Ulster Grand Prix this year, that we will be covering in depth, as well as picking out the major talking points from the other rounds.
And will it be on the BBC again, as it has been in the past few years?
Yes, they have. It was actually announced just the other day, I believe. Northwest 200. Let me just get this up.
Because I think it's usually on BBC Northern.
Yes. So Northwest 200 will be shown on BBC Northern Ireland and Connected TV, aka Red Button, and online streaming, up until and including the end of the 2023 edition.
Oh,
so for the next 5 years, the Northwest 200 is staying put on BBC.
Not bad.
Which is great news, because top quality bike racing, free for the masses.
And it's pretty difficult to cover road racing live.
Yes.
For any broadcaster. So you have to applaud the BBC and the production company that actually produce the coverage of it to supply to the BBC for putting on, because I watched a lot of the coverage last year.
I believe it's Greenlight TV who currently produce them out there. But yes, absolutely, especially the Helicam. That's one thing that you don't get at normal circuit races, the Helicam, which is on a helicopter, and you get the full sense of the scale of these road courses that go around. The Northwest 200 is a 9-mile triangle, effectively, around there, which crosses Portstewart, Coleraine and Port Rush, regions of the Northern Irish coast, and the Helicam views all the way out from the Ballysally roundabout all the way into Port Rush is absolutely incredible. And it's the reason why that they refer to the circuit races like World Superbikes, British Superbikes, etc. as short circuits, because
they are literally
they really are. 3 miles is nothing compared to what these boys can do. It's incredible. However, if you're one for your history, the event, obviously, to go to is the Isle of Man TT.
Oh, yeah.
It really is. It's completely unlike any other racing event because it's the closest form of motorsport you could compare it to, I guess, would be rally racing, because all the competitors start off individually. It's essentially a time trial that they're racing. It's a 38-mile course, so good luck to any prospective TV company that wants to try and broadcast it live. But again, it's one of those, just pay the ferry fee and you can watch the racing for free at the roadside.
Yeah.
So it's well worth it. I think you do have to pay a bit to go in the paddock nowadays at the TT, but again, it's thoroughly worth it. It's lots of the riders are very approachable, very friendly to talk to. It's still the spirit, the essence of motorcycle racing and motorsport in general. The whole of these people just doing it for the fun and for the love of the sport, rather than, you know, the rich prize money trappings that you sometimes associate, say, the Grand Prix riders with. So it's, for a true down-to-earth racing experience, yeah, nothing beats the road racing.
Yeah, there is a fantastic atmosphere as well, and although I've not been yet, you do get to see a lot of people on social media who are at the event taking various bits of videos, and that just as much as the fantastic access and the actual the racing comes across as being a proper event, a bit like if anyone's ever been to Le Mans, the 24-hour race, car racing. It's similar, I would say, although much longer in terms of an event, I would say. But I've not yet been, to my shame. So, yeah.
You'll need deep pockets if you're planning on going to the full 2-week Isle of Man TT.
Yes, I wasn't going to say it was. I didn't want to say it was.
I have known some people who have managed to do that.
Yeah, I don't know how much the ferry is. What the latest prices are. Maybe that's something we can update people on like what good packages there are to go. What good days. You know, you could say you've only got, I don't know, a couple of £100 and you want to go watch some road racing. What's the ones to, you know, go? Maybe we should do that. Some sort of like consumer advice for people. That'd be good, I suppose.
I like this idea.
Almost providing a service, perilously close to being useful. I don't like it. But yeah, so yeah, road racing calendar confirmed. Definitely confirmed, or it's sort of like that's kind of confirmed?
That is the confirmation of the calendar. The only event actually that's on there that is still potentially provisional is Macau, but as that's not a championship event, to an extent it doesn't really matter when that one is arranged for. All the championship races and the big international road races in Northern Ireland and the Isle of Man are now set in stone. So that calendar is effectively definitive.
All right. Well, we were hoping to get more in depth with our debate this evening, but it appears that we've been chatting amongst ourselves and ran out of time. Not something that we've ever been accused of doing here on the Superbike show, ever. But yeah, tonight's debate was wings in MotoGP, yay or nay, and what do you think about them? Expecting an almost unanimous flood of negative comments and such. But in those comments, we could probably pick out a couple of readable ones. But yeah, the wings, I think many people's consensus is that... but, you know, keeping an eye on them, just hopefully it's
I really like them.
Okay. Well,
they were only ever there to substitute when MotoGP went over to the standard ECU, and then I think we're kind of at a point now where the technical regulations are kind of half being ignored, if I'm honest. Because they've gone from fairings to they are just wings again now.
You see, the teams would say that they're not wings because they're both ends of these items, which are referred to as wings, are bolted to the fairing together, so there isn't an unattached end.
They're an aerodynamic device, which
I suppose
they're not fairy lights.
I suppose yes, they're ugly in terms of the debate. They are ugly, but I do like them. Look, Grand Prix racing, as far as I'm concerned, because these bikes are built to go as fast as possible around a racetrack. Sure, it was only a matter of time until the engineers, these brilliant engineers, do design these items to help with the cornering speeds of the bikes. Because let's be honest, straight lines, motorbikes are brilliant.
To be fair, though,
they can be a bit rubbish.
The wings are like this is the thing. Like you see some riders with, some without. The main purpose is anti-wheelie. That is the absolute
stability, isn't it? Really?
Yeah. I mean, and to be fair, we've forgot that BSB and World Superbikes both get wings this year with Ducati V4R.
No, absolutely. Certainly the big wings that you see at the top of the underside of the bubble fairing, should say right at the front, that's certainly for anti-wheelie. I'd say look at Ducatis, though, with all those fins almost at the side. They're not there for helping the bike stay flat in a straight line. They're there for when the bike's on its side going through a corner.
Yeah, to dissipate the wind.
Airflow, get it away from the bike and just allow the bike to just cut through the air at a higher speed through the corners. But I think that's part of Grand Prix racing. You've got to design the bike that can go as fast as it possibly can. I wouldn't like to see them on production bikes, and I certainly don't think they could ever be made safe for roads. But in terms of Grand Prix racing, however, I'm all in favour of them.
I can almost hear Kiko screaming all the way from Spain various profanities about...
I'm going to get so much abuse from him after this show. I can tell you that now.
About why they shouldn't be allowed, yada, 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 how everything was better way back when. Or maybe, I don't know, I've not spoken to him for a little while, a day, I think. Maybe he's changed his outcome, his outlook now that he's well in the Dorna camp. So he might be towing the corporate line and be like, yes, no, I like all of that. Yeah, World Superbikes, yes, love it. Who knows?
It's as if he's in the room with us.
Yes, but anyway, give us your thoughts. Gary has been in touch. Not going to pronounce your second name, Gary. But Gary says, I thought the wings were getting banned. It makes a good point, because, what was going on with that? I thought there was meant to be...
This was last year. 2017. This was the whole thing to ban the winglets, in that you couldn't have anything on the bike which wasn't connected to the fairing. However, they did say nothing about, well, what if you build this extra thing, but how it connected...
So let's redesign the entire bike.
I think what Gary might be prompting at is 2017 and 2018 the teams have been able to homologate one fairing at the beginning of the year and then have an updated version later in the year. This year that's not happening. Whatever fairing they roll on the grid with in Qatar, that is it. That is the fairing that they will use for the season. So I don't know if that's potentially...
Unless you have concessions, because then you're allowed still one change of fairing in the year.
I thought it was a new technical regulation. I didn't think it was anything to do with concessions, but I might be wrong.
It's basically stopped Ducati from rolling out mid-season a brand new aero fairing because they can.
Brand new scaffolding.
It's the endless battle between MotoGP and Gigi Dall'Igna.
Yeah, I was going to, in my attempt to be a bit cheeky whilst preparing the show, I was Googling pictures of a Ferrari F1 car with massive, enormous, big, I think they're like the pitot tube type things that aeroplanes have, which sort of measure the airflow. These massive, they look like kind of radiators stuck to the side, and they're so ugly. You've probably already seen them. But I would imagine if certain developments in the fairing/wing department in MotoGP were allowed to get completely out of control, that is where MotoGP would probably be ending up following what F1 currently do, I suppose.
I mean, if it gets to the stage where we have bits everywhere on the bike, how the F1 cars looked in, say, 2007, 2008, then they've probably gone too far.
That's how they look now as well.
They have.
Well,
Ducati have got 3 floors.
At the same time, though, I think they'd only say, no, you can't have all this aero stuff if it affects the overtaking. We don't have a problem with overtaking in MotoGP. Yeah, so that was the main reason why they told the F1 teams, no, you can't have these on the cars anymore, because no cars were being able to overtake each other.
Well, so, as we're finding out in other championships, a lot of the appeal, if you take it away, the things that made the championships attractive to us when we were younger, that got us hooked and fixated, if you take those things away, you notice that they're not there. For example, like the beautiful machines with the loud engines. If you take them away, like in Formula 1, you start to think, oh, meh. You know, MotoGP is not immune from people switching off.
But I'd say a lot would have to happen for people to start switching off for MotoGP, and also, I mean, you would have to really slow the bikes down for a start. I mean,
I'm not even sure it's about speed, to be honest. I do think the two biggest, maybe three biggest components are the look and sound of the bikes, and probably the racing, and probably the names who are riding.
I think the Yamaha, out of all the bikes, the Yamaha is the most elegant looking winged bike. I think Ducati just...
I'd say Suzuki.
No, not for me. But I think, Ducati... I think Ducati maybe pushed it a little bit too far. I know it's not outside the rules, but...
They're taking the piss.
Yeah, next year they're then going to turn up with 3 more wings on either side, and then
the whole bike will just be one wing.
Yeah, it would just be.
That's all it'll be, with wheels.
And then they'll end up with wings on their helmet.
Yeah.
And
it's not. No, it's not. It's not technically a wing because it's just a bike which is shaped like a wing. That's how they get around it. That's what they've done, basically, haven't they?
But yeah, I think I
can already see the huge grin on Gigi Dillon's face if he rolls that out.
I like the technology. I like the idea of the technology. I just think that maybe we're going a little bit too far with it now. I think because don't forget, the whole reason they stopped the wing development in 2017 was pre-2017. It was costing the factories a hell of a lot of money in aerodynamic development, CFD work. But now I think they're probably spending a hell of a lot more money to do exactly the same thing that they were trying to stop, even though they're not wings, just because there's 2 elements connected. So the Ducati's technically got 6 wings either side because it's one connected. Do you know what I mean? So I
think so long as wings or any other device that the teams can create, as long as they don't negatively impact the racing, which I don't think on the evidence the last couple of years the wings they don't negatively. They don't detract from the racing.
They'll just come in next year with DRS.
You see, that was brought in because F1 cars, they're struggling to overtake each other. We're not seeing that problem. So,
well, I mean, you could draw... Sorry to keep drawing comparisons to F1, but in F1 right now, or certainly in 2018, you could say that it was amongst some of the greatest racing that we've seen in many, many years. However, the cars are a bit...
Yeah, I mean, to be honest as well, there was one other reason, which I think there was a slight scare in Argentina 2016 when Andrea Iannone ploughed straight into the backside of Marc Marquez and the wing basically dug into his bum cheek. And
that wouldn't have been Argentina because that was when Iannone ploughed into his teammate Dovizioso. I remember he did randomly crash in Qatar.
But everyone thought,
the wings were unsafe because of it, but it actually turned out that no, Iannone just got on the throttle far too early through the corner. So nothing was proven that they are unsafe, and certainly you see them all now.
Well, nothing's unsafe until it is unsafe.
The teams are clearly happy with them. I mean, they're bolted in on both ends of the wings are now bolted onto the fairing, so it further reduces the chance of them flying off in a crash or whatever. It's motorcycle racing. It's never going to be perfectly safe, of course not, but the danger is part of what draws us to the sport. Look, as again, I said, okay, it's fair enough that we are making comparisons between MotoGP and F1 as they're respectively, they are the pinnacle sports for development and racing, for machines, cars and bikes. I think the wings, in terms of just this debate, the question posed, they are a bit unsightly, ugly. But the bikes, I think, they lap quicker than before now. They obviously means they help corner. The wings help the bikes corner quicker as well. They're not unduly unsafe. So I guess until, they start negatively impacting the races, they're good to stay.
All right, then. Well, let us know your thoughts. As I said, if you have passionate opinions either way, as Ryan Lilly might, who's still tuned in, amazingly. No Valentine's keeping him distracted tonight. He says, Ed, it was Argentina when he ran into Marquez's arse cheek. Oh, arse cheek. Thanks for that, Ryan. Always.
Is he referring to Marquez or me there?
I think Iannone, but less about him and anything to do with...
I sit corrected either way.
Yes, well, I'm sure Iannone might also stand corrected after his surgery. Anyway, it'll take a while to sink in, that one. So on tonight's Superbike show, we've reached the end of the show now. First one of 2019. And we heard from Mr. Brad Ray, who was out in Malaysia a couple of weeks ago. And he put on a pretty decent show. You can go back and hear his account of when he dived on that MotoGP machine out in Malaysia. And playing a video at the moment, courtesy of Brad Ray's social media. It was an amazing opportunity for him, and we will stick bits of that interview back up all over the place on our social medias. So thank you very much for Brad for coming on, and thank you very much for his team for making it happen as well, including Mr. Roger Keys as well. So, Superbike Show. First episode of 2019. Thank you very much for tuning in. If you have done so live, remember, just because you might be listening and we're not live doesn't mean you can't also get involved and leave your comment in the comments box below. Thank you very much to Nat Jarvis for being on the first non-Kiko Superbike show since it started, to be honest. Thank you.
Welcome.
And also Ed Hocknull as well, back on the show, hopefully next week, to finish off the rest of what we'd planned to talk about tonight. Luckily, as it's still the pre-season, we can just basically we've already written next week's show anyway. It was what was going to be planned for tonight. So Ed, thank you very much for coming on the show, and we might even have a little bit of a few Scottish vibes as well on next week's show, as
pleasure as always.
Yes, as Liam Hodgins might join us on the show, so it might be a nice foursome on the show. I suppose, yes, it literally will take 3 people to do the work of one Kiko this year. Who knows? And then there's always me on the side. So,
listen, if Kiko's listening now, you've just inflated his head. So, and he'll hold that against you.
He doesn't need any. He doesn't need an ego boost from me. Certainly not.
You just gave it to him.
Inadvertently. Okay, so that's the one time in all the time I've known him that I've given him praise. So,
he'll cut that clip out and leave it playing on one of them video picture frames.
Exactly, yeah. All right, then. So thank you very much for tuning in to the Superbike show. We'll do it all again probably next week, if we're all still alive and haven't killed each other or been sued by Dorna for slagging World Superbikes off. Thank you very much, and good night.
Hi, I'm Ben Curry.
Hello, I'm Josh Elliott.
Hi, I'm Jonathan Ray from the Kawasaki Racing Team.
I'm Keith Farmer.
This is Motorsport Radio.
Hi, I'm Joan Zacco, Motorsport Radio.
Hi, I'm Ryan Vickers, and this is Motorsport Radio.
Hi, I'm Michael Laverty, and this is Motorsport Radio.
Hi, I'm Bradley Wright. This is Motorsport Radio.
The Superbike Show on Motorsport Radio.